It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, my friends, in Schuylkill County, you have a big choice to make on November 5th, particularly when you go to vote in the district attorney slot. We have a competition going on between Christine Holman and Karen Noon. My guest today is Christine Holman, and she certainly is no stranger to anyone in Schuylkill County, and she's going to talk about why you should vote for her for district attorney. Christine, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, Sam.
Okay. It's an interesting race, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, people who, may not know you, know of you, I always tell people, please, know the person, get the information, and don't vote for Christine Holman because she's nice or she's a nice person, but vote for her, if whomever you're going to vote for, because of qualifications. And I think we'd like to talk about that today on the show. Okay?
Sure.
So let's talk about, what about your background?
Certainly, Sam. I graduated from the North Schuylkill High School, graduate class of 1980. I went on to Penn State. I'm a graduate of Penn State, 84. I majored in marketing and business. I then took a few years off to make some money to go on to law school. And I went to the Thomas M. Cooley Law School in Lansing, Michigan, and I graduated from there in 1990. I left Michigan and came back home to Schuylkill County. My parents' home is on the Fountain Springs Highway in Butler Township. And I lived with my father and my brother during the time that I studied for the bar. That was taxing and interesting, but I got through it. And after I passed the bar, I embarked on finding a job. I was so fortunate to be hired by the Honorable Cyrus Palmer Dalbin. He's one of our learned judges in Schuylkill County, and I was his law clerk. They're not really called law clerks anymore. People call them staff attorneys. But I was his law clerk for several months, and then went on to work for two senior judges, Donald Dalbin and Wilbur Rubright. Unfortunately, those judges have both passed. In 1993, I was again fortunate to be selected by Judge John E. Domolakis to be his law clerk. He had won a seat on the bench at that time, and he hired me. I had some experience through the other judges, so he thought it would be a good fit. And just a little commercial break, Judge John E. Domolakis is running for retention this year. Judge Domolakis has 20 years of experience. He is a learned justice. He is an incredibly brilliant man, a real asset to the Schuylkill legal community. And please vote yes to retain Judge Domolakis. We need him on the Schuylkill County bench. After my time with Judge Domolakis, I then went on to work for the firm that he used to work for, Rubright, Domolakis, Troy, and Miller, and that was based in Frackville. And when I became an associate with that firm, I did a lot of workers' compensation defense, criminal defense, family law, real estate, wills, trusts, and estates. They were a general practice firm, so I really learned a lot. And after about 5 years, I decided that I was going to open up my own shop. So when I opened up my own shop, I began taking the same amount of cases, well, the same kind of cases, but on a higher volume because I needed to support the office. During the time that I was in between, or during the time that I was with Rubright, Domolakis, Troy, and Miller, and my own office, I was also teaching law classes at the McCann School of Business and Technology in Monnoy City, Pottsville, and here in the Hazleton area. And I taught criminal law, criminal procedure, criminal justice, research and writing, family law, real estate, many other courses to students, and it was very fulfilling. When I opened up my own office in around 2000, I began practicing, and I was fortunate to be hired in 2002 by Frank Corey, who was a previous district attorney in Schuylkill County. And Frank had hired me, but he needed me in the juvenile division. And for those of you who don't know, well, certainly a crime is a crime. Bad guys are bad guys, bad girls are bad girls. But when you're doing juvenile law, the technique and the procedure is just a little bit different than when you're doing prosecuting work with adult criminals. In the juvenile system, a juvenile is not found guilty per se, they are adjudicated delinquent. If they are found delinquent, they are not necessarily punished, but you attempt then to rehabilitate them. How do you do that? Well, you have a couple of choices. They can accept probation. If they're not probation eligible, you would then look at having that juvenile spend some time in a facility. And that facility, however, would be a rehabilitative facility, not a facility to impound punishment. So I worked in the juvenile department for Frank Corey as a prosecutor for 4 years, and I did hundreds of juvenile trials every Monday. 52 Mondays out of a year for 4 years. I probably did 500 juvenile trials in a given year. Juvenile cases are heard in front of a trial judge, not in front of a jury. After Frank unfortunately was defeated, I didn't stay in the district attorney's office. Not really my choice, but nonetheless I didn't stay. And so I then did a short stint in the Schuylkill County Public Defender's office. And after that time was over, I then simply began concentrating more on work that I could do privately, private criminal defense cases, family law cases, personal injury cases. I have my own business, and of course, as anyone knows who has their own business, you've got to worry about paying the mortgage, you've got to worry about paying salaries, paying taxes, paying the light bills, snow removal in the wintertime. So you've got to keep up every day, every week. You kind of think, gee, is there going to be enough money coming in to keep up this business that I've worked so hard to keep? But I do love the law. I've always wanted to be involved in the law. I've always wanted to be a prosecutor. When I was in law school, my friends would joke with me, oh, Chrissy, she's going to be a prosecutor, watch. I watched so many cop shows when I was a young girl. I always wanted to be policewoman, Angie Dickinson.
Yeah, and folks, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Christine Holman, who she's running for the district attorney's slot in Schuylkill County. Don't forget, November 5th is very important. So what do you think the district attorney's role is, based on what you just said, your past experience? So what do you think the role, what should a district attorney be doing?
The district attorney, I think, should be looking at the community as a whole, looking at how they can protect the community, looking at what relationships they need to have with the community. The district attorney certainly has to administrate and have some sort of order to what cases are being prosecuted. The district attorney has to have good people in the office that can handle certain responsibilities. I believe it is the district attorney's job to streamline cases and prosecute cases that you can win. And it's not a matter of, well, let's chalk up wins here and losses here. When I was in the district attorney's office, my boss, Frank Corey, said to me, "Chrissy, we only bring cases that we can prove. You don't, your case is only as good as the true facts and the true evidence. So you don't bring a case to prosecute and then try to manufacture evidence. It all has to fit together." So there's a lot of...
Are you saying that this probably hasn't been doing now, that
Well,
particular procedures?
There's some problems currently, and they're noticeable problems.
Such as?
Well, there was a recent case, a individual, a defendant, Juan Perez, and these are all cases that are public record in the Schuylkill County Clerk of Court's office. The Juan Perez case was a very interesting case. It was stemmed out of the domestic violence section. Juan Perez's victim pled with the district attorney's office that she did not want to prosecute. She did not want to go forward with this case. The case went before the jury. The case went before the judge. I think everyone had some questions as to why this case was even being brought forward. The prosecution presented their case. The defendant was the best witness for the prosecution because the victim basically said to the jury, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't want to be here. The case was over in about 15 minutes after the jury took it. That situation costs the taxpayers money. That is irresponsible, if you ask me. You have cases where life prisoners are perhaps bored. And I'm not belittling or, assaulting a guard, but you bring a life prisoner in to trial to charge him with simple or aggravated assault, and you're then going to go through the rigors of a trial to have the individual found guilty, and then what? They go back? I mean, what more punishment can you impose on them?
So what do you see then as improvements in the DA's office?
What do I see as improvements in the DA's office? I see streamlining criminal informations to perhaps different people. There has been some grumblings in the DA's office, or I shouldn't say within the office itself, but amongst the defense bar, that there's been some people hired in the DA's office that aren't particularly qualified and that potentially were hired to help out and aid in the election. That's fine, but as the district attorney, you owe a solemn duty to your constituents and to the public to manage a budget and manage money in a sense where you're not just wasting it on impaneling juries that are going to hear cases that really shouldn't have been brought. It's half a dozen, six or the other, because on the other hand, you have certain victims that have had injuries and have had been victims of crimes where the district attorney's office is reluctant to file the charge or has perhaps deferred that case to the attorney general because she's had a personal relationship with either the perpetrator or the victim. Is that fair to Schuylkill County? I don't think so. Again, you're paid to do your job every day. It's not if yourself has a sort of a conflict, you have an assistant, you have many other district ADAs that could certainly have handled that particular case.
Christine, we see every day, I think 80%, I don't know the exact number, 80, 85%, maybe 90% of most crimes are caused because people are on drugs. and they're using the drugs. So we have two factors here. We have the fact that we have the people who are selling drugs, and the most disturbing thing is the people who are buying them. Because
Yes.
if you didn't have the demand, we wouldn't have these things. So I got mixed emotions. I know people who are drug addicted should be taken care of, so they don't have to buy the drugs, and those people are pushing them. So you don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg. With that being said, I think education is extremely important, especially in the younger elementary grades. What do you intend to do about the drug problem that we have?
I'm glad you asked that, Sam. First of all, I think that Schuylkill County needs a stronger drug task force. I know there's money that obviously must be found somewhere to aid in strengthening the drug task force. And when I say strengthen the drug task force, I mean hire some experienced individuals to come to Schuylkill County, give seminars, teach our local law enforcement officials how a drug task force really should work. The little areas that we have to deal with, the drugs are rampant, and you wonder where they're coming from.
Yes.
How do you stop the drugs from coming in? I think the drug task force has to be able to handle that for Schuylkill County.
How will you be as far as a district attorney? How strict will you be? How strong will you be? Because I've said this on the show before. Sometimes people interpret kindness for weakness.
Sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you have a nice district attorney, whomever the person may be, particularly female or a male, and they're nice. But however, to know that you do drugs in Schuylkill County, you're going to have a serious problem when the DA gets it. How strong will you be in that respect?
Very strong, Sam. And I guess there's one thing that I'm not quite understanding right now. I hear a lot of hype. There's big drug sweeps. I know about saturation patrols. We used to do that, or I would hear about that when I was in the DA's office. I hear about the drug task force. I understand our local police work diligently and work very hard. Then you get to reading your local newspaper only to find that, for instance, on September 19, just a few days ago, also in the county court, Schuylkill County prosecutors have withdrawn 6 drug-related charges they had filed against a Monnoy City woman for an alleged December 2011 incident. A woman, 22, had been charged with 2 counts each of possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance and possession of a controlled substance, and 1 each of conspiracy and possession of drug paraphernalia. In an order entered Tuesday, President Judge William Baldwin allowed prosecutors to withdraw the charges and directed this woman to pay the cost. So I'm somewhat confused and perplexed. 6 drug charges withdrawn? I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't the eyes and ears on the street. I don't know the rhyme and reason, but I think that sends a bad message.
Well, now staying with because I want your opinions on the elderly and some other things that I think are important. But very quickly, do you feel that the laws? I know you can only when you prosecute someone and they're found guilty, then the punishment is the judges only have what the legislation says they could do.
Right.
Do you feel the laws are strict enough as coming from Harrisburg now?
I feel the laws. There's mandatory sentences for DUIs. There's mandatory sentences dealing with deadly weapons. I can't change those laws,
I understand that, but do you feel coming out of Harrisburg they should be stronger laws or harder laws or whatever?
I think Harrisburg is doing a good job in in streamlining what laws should be mandatory.
Okay, because I hear always different reports that, we can only do as much as we can do because the legislation says we can only do this, okay?
Right.
So therefore, if a person is doing, I say if you're convicted of being using drugs, or selling drugs, you should have the highest sentence, sends a message out there.
Yes, sends a message, and there are mandatory sentences.
Staying with the fact if you should become the district attorney, how can you help the elderly, which are my people, because these are the people that suffer the most.
Sure.
They're always preyed upon, they worked hard all their lives, and seniors, want to enjoy their lives now. Now they find it more
Right.
difficult, okay? What do you do to
Right.
help my friends out?
For the senior citizens or the elderly, I think education is the key. I would plan on asking the various nursing homes and senior centers if it would be acceptable to come into those homes perhaps once a month and bring guest speakers in from the Attorney General's office or different bodies that could teach the elderly what to be aware of. Sometimes you just have to sit back and think, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Such as these sweepstakes that you might get in the mail. Even myself, I get them, and you get excited
Did you win
thinking,
a couple million?
I never did I win the couple million. But you have to be careful about someone who's alone, seeing this mailing coming in, badgering in a sense, or enticing you to write a check. You've got to beware of telemarketers calling you, asking you for personal information. That is a big no-no. You should never give out a date of birth, a social security number, or any identifying information, or even tell someone on the phone if you are living alone, or your schedule. That is just wrong.
Staying with what you said before, and I'm glad you said that. There's much more to be said about that, but I want to move on to some other things. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with.
That's correct.
Our company here, I have great people in production and sales and news department, and that's why we're, thank the good Lord, as successful as we are. Without being political, because I know people who are supporting you, maybe some attorneys saying, do I have a job? Do I have this? Okay.
Right.
And maybe they are rightly so in asking you, but how are you planning to surround yourself with people that are qualified, and not because they're Republican or Democrat or friends of Christine or friends of Sam Lesante?
Sure.
I'll give you about 2 minutes there.
I was in the district attorney's office, and I learned from Frank Corey, if someone is doing a good job, let them do that job. There are a lot of top-notch attorneys in Schuylkill County that work in the private sector as doing criminal defense. They work in the public defender's office. They work in the district attorney's office. Those individuals, I believe, would be the pool, the source that I would pull from if I were to be elected as the next district attorney.
Trust is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Trust is imperative. You can't have someone working for you as your right-hand man or woman if you don't trust them. And friendships, of course, can be enhanced or perhaps ruined if you have someone that you hire and it doesn't work out.
Well, you see, I know that sometimes people think when they say politicians, the reason why politicians got a bad name is because they made it bad, okay? I'm always a firm believer, as I've said this many times. Ethel Price told me this many years when I was on the Board of Trustees at a community college. Good politicians make for good government, okay? So, everyone's a but you're out politicking, but there's ways, okay? So when you get that, especially in your office, the district attorney's office, you're hoping that whoever's ever there is going to be solid in what they're doing, and you feel that you're the person for that.
Yes. I ran 4 years ago for this particular position. I wanted to be the district attorney. I was unfortunately unsuccessful. I'm no quitter. I'm trying it again because I want to be the district attorney in Schuylkill County. I feel I am the best person qualified to keep Schuylkill County families safe. I feel with implementing some of my ideas and programs that Schuylkill Countyans will feel they can sleep better at night. I should also add that the position of district attorney is an elected position, and I would like to be the first elected woman in Schuylkill County. My opponent was appointed, and the office of district attorney is not an inherited right. And I sometimes question my opponent's dedication, in a sense, to the office of district attorney when 2 years ago, while her successor, James Goodman, was ascending to the bench, she ran for magisterial district justice. And that was in the area of Ashland, Frackville, Girardville, Ringtown. My opponent lost for that position, and I now question is her position in the district attorney's office a fallback position? She's just there because she couldn't be district justice? I didn't do that, but nonetheless, I have two ideas, Sam, if you'd let me.
You got 2 minutes.
Tell the public about what I would like to do. There is mass casualty. Mass casualty, I believe, we have to have a plan. This is as a result of the Sandy Hook situation. There is a body, an organization called NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health. Our schools have to focus more on mental illness. We focus now on teaching. We focus on college prep courses. We still need to do that, but we need to focus more on mental illness with some security resource officers. We also need to make a plan for these tragedies if, in fact, they happen. Studying blueprints in schools, training teachers, training janitors. That's what I would like to embark on. I'd also love to clean up Schuylkill County and make it pretty. Blight, the blight laws that have been implemented, Dave Argel has been a huge success in bringing Act 90 into play, which has a lot of teeth. We also have a section in the Crimes Code under 6504 with public nuisances. I've been knocking on doors, 2,000, 3,000 doors since I started this election. You go to one nice house, next to it is a dilapidated property. How do we combat that? We utilize the blight laws to make the people responsible. These are crimes, folks, that are making our communities ugly.
Christine Holman, folks, ChristineHolman.com, or go to her email is chyholman@yahoo.com. Christine, I wish you, as well as anyone who's running for office, the very best of success. And what I say is always vote for the people who are qualified, not because they're nice people. You know the mess we have today because people vote for parties and they vote for this and they don't even know about the things. I'll give you 30 seconds to wrap up to what you'd like to tell our people.
Sure. Put me in office and I promise I will do a good job. Currently, I am the Schuylkill County, an assistant Schuylkill County solicitor dealing daily with county problems. I am well aware of what has to be done, and I look forward to serving you in the capacity as your next district attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for joining us on the Sam Lesante Show.